Hey y'all, how we doing? Shout out once again to Bear Nation for tuning in to another episode of the Bear Necessities podcast. I am your host, Rob Napoli. The Bear Necessities is a podcast where we sit down with entrepreneurs, ecosystem partners, and innovation folks to talk about what it takes and means to launch, create, and scale business across the world. We talk about the journey and the challenges of being entrepreneur minded and how that translates into your journey, giving you the tools and knowledge to overcome challenges that you may be facing in your life's journey. The Bear Necessities is part of the Rise Up Media family, and we thank you for tuning in. Now, let's get into the show. Hey y'all, how we doing? We're back again for another episode of the Bear Necessities podcast. I'm your host, Rob Napoli, and today is I want to say it's a very special episode. And I have not one, not two, but three awesome guests today to talk about something that's really big happening in the four of our lives. And I can't even begin to explain how excited we all are for this and how it's a long time coming. And I'll let them all introduce themselves here in a minute. But to those out there listening, I want to introduce you to my business partners and one of my best friends, Phil Delvecchio. We run Hapday Group together. We've known each other since 2017 when we both moved to New York City and found a way to make some magic happen. And then also on this episode is JC Rico and Filip Karwala, both co-founders and best friends themselves who've started a business called Move. And the exciting announcement will be coming here in a minute. But before we get into that, Phillip, JC, and Phil, say hello to Bear Nation for me.
What's up?
Hey, Bear Nation. Thanks for having us, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited because this is going to get fun because we've got a lot to talk about in a short period of time. Before we get into all the fun, deep conversations, I want to have quick introductions, right? So give me a little bit of your story, how you got to where you are today, kind of the synthesized 1 minute episodes, because I'll make sure to have all y'all LinkedIn's tagged in this so people can go look you up and find your story. I'm going to start with my business partner, Phil Delvecchio. So Phil, why don't you kick us off with a quick intro, my guy?
Yeah, so my name is Phillip Delvecchio, and I'm one of the co-founders of Hapday Group. I come from a background of technology and international relations. Early on in my career, I worked for Microsoft. After that, I went on to do a Fulbright, lived abroad for a couple of years. Didn't start getting into the startup world until about 2016, where I worked for a startup in Taiwan, and then eventually moved to New York City to start running accelerator programs. After figuring out the crazy world of New York tech, I started to start my own company in 2018, which is Hapday Group. And what we do is we offer support to businesses who are growing, expanding in the US market, particularly in operations and business development. And we've been partnering with Move Partners for about a year now. So it's really awesome to have them here with us today as well.
And for those that have never heard me say this, I tell this all the time, but when we built Hapday Group, I joke that, we were a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, and I was like the sexy exterior, like the sailing guy out in front. But Phil was he was the engine under the hood, making this whole ship run. So, when I talk about his ability, and he talked about being a tech guy, he is a process-oriented guy and has figured out a lot of shit and saved my ass on more than one occasion. So happy to have you on, Phil. Next up, we'll go with Phillip Karwala. Why don't you give us your background, my guy?
Yeah, everybody. Philip here. I'm originally Polish. Right now living in Mexico. I studied international business in Poland and then in Spain and then the US. And yeah, my first job was actually a startup in Spain. I spent there 4 years, and I think this was the best decision or best thing that could happen to me. It kind of accelerated my career. In 4 years, I did like 10 years of learning. Then I went to Oracle. I spent a few years in Oracle in Mexico and then moved for a year to Dubai. And from there, I was kind of missing startup world, and a friend of mine called me and invited me for an IoT startup where I was the head of sales for 4 years. I grew the company from like 15 people to over 100. Yeah, it was a crazy ride. And then, I was thinking what to do with my life, if to take another like a VP of sales or head of sales gig, but I decided to start consulting. that's how it all started. I got really active on LinkedIn, started meeting people. I met Phil and Rob. And together with JC, we know each other for a very long time. We're close friends. We do triathlon together. And we always wanted to do something together. And the times kind of coincide, and we decided now is the time. Now we have all the experience, and we started doing consulting, helping B2B tech companies, basically building their outbound sales teams and executing for them. And then we met Phil and Rob, and we'll tell you more of the story probably a bit later. But yeah, that's my background.
I don't know if y'all catch that, but Philip from Poland, living in Mexico, did a stint in Spain, did some time in Dubai. I think there's a couple other stops in there. We'll talk about why move. Um, and for those that are listening, you won't be able to see it when I ask him to show his knuckles, but his kind of motto is move and make things happen, and it really tied together. So I can't wait to tell that story comes out. But for those listening in, the 50 different directions that he has jumped through and experiences lived. And finally, my guy JC, the fourth member of the crew here. Last but not least.
Thanks for having us here. I guess quick background. I similarly to Phil Delvecchio, I come from international relations background. So spent a few years abroad in Australia, France, Belgium, and then finally decided to move back to Mexico. I've always worked in the intersection between sales, operations, and technology. Obviously, have worked for Brazilian startups, expanding in LATAM, and also European startups, US-based startups. And 2 years ago, we decided to build our own company. We felt it was about time. I've known Phillip for about 10 years. We actually met playing basketball, so we've got a background of moving. So it's always been within I guess our ethos just to get moving. And it's been a wild ride, bit over a year and a half. And then so met you guys, and that's kind of the reason we're here and about to tell that story. So thanks for having us.
Well, I love that, and for those listening in, the four of us together it's been interesting how we met, and we'll talk about that story. But a lot of experience abroad, and all of us have moved and picked up and ingrained in other cultures, and we've learned a lot about how to run businesses abroad. And what we've all noticed is that sales is such a hard thing, because while sales process is kind of linear, the way you execute it in different markets is very variable, right? And so what Phil and I built with Hapday Group was helping businesses do that, and what JC and Phillip wanted to build was something very similar. And that is why we're all here today. And the story that we're about to tell you is that amazing thing has happened. So, Phillip, I kind of would love you to kind of share how we got introduced. Phil, I want to have you share how we got introduced to Phillip through what we did during the pandemic. And you and I'll kind of walk through our decision making there, and then we'll kind of hear it from their side. So, it was 2020, and Phil and I were kind of wondering what the hell we're going to do, and he comes to me with this idea. So I'll let you take it away and how we got introduced and what we were trying to build.
Yeah, for sure. It was a wild year for many reasons. And, there was a lot that was going on during that time. And we were going through a lot of changes as a business and as a team. And the real kind of triggering for all of this to happen was the decision that we made to start running boot camps. We had done programming for some great organizations, some 2-day programming, some 1-week programming. But this was the first time that we decided to build a boot camp product of our own. And so when we decided in the middle of a pandemic to launch the B2B sales boot camp, I just went to town on like how can I get connected to as many people as possible as fast as possible, because we need an ecosystem of sales leaders. And so, I started doing what I do and started reaching out to as many people as possible. And I remember in the middle of like, a lot of tumult, I was having, 5 to 6 calls a day with these awesome sales leaders to bring them in and be mentors. And one of those people was Francois, right, from Canada. And
5 on Fridays.
he's a great guy, really, really awesome guy, and great sales leader in the ecosystem. And so he was, of course, on board to support. And he was also like, how can I help? Like, let me help get you connected to other people. And I didn't expect anything to come of that. People are really sweet about offering that. But Francois was like, hey, I know this guy, Phillip, who seems to be doing very similar things to you. He's got your same name. So obviously there's going to be synergy. And so he offered to connect me up, and I didn't know what to expect. I mean, we were getting, I think at the point that I spoke to Phillip, we had kind of already set up the boot camp, and we were getting into June, which is when I started to have conversations with you, Rob, about the direction of the business as a whole. I was saying, hey, I just don't know if I want to continue the business in the direction it's going. We had actually made it through the pandemic pretty much unscathed. But I had gone through my own personal changes and was thinking, hey, I think that I might want to be taking this business in a different direction, or at least taking my life in a different direction. And then here comes Tokayo saying, hey, you guys what you guys are doing are awesome. I want to talk more to you about it, because we're doing something similar. We're going to be building out our business, and would love to learn from you. And I kind of pounced on that as an opportunity to continue forward a partnership, and eventually to really change the game for us. So
I love that. And for those out there listening, Takayo is same name brother, right? So
I was gonna let Phillip explain it, because I knew I was gonna mess it up in some way.
I was actually waiting for that to come, and I was like, if it didn't come in, I was gonna have to bring this in.
Just keep saying Takayo. People will be like, what the heck are they saying?
So just to kind of pop in, as we were kind of looking at the business and scaling, it was really intriguing. And when Phil was like, hey, I met this guy Phillip, it was amazing. Like, we need to have a conversation. I think this could work. Let's do a partnership. Let's get them on board to help manage a lot of these things. We decided to start collaborating, and that leads to why we're here. And as we talk about the move side of things, is that big fucking day, boys. Acquisition is officially being announced. The 4 of us on this call, after that collaboration, we spent a year with these guys and with Phillip and JC, knowing that this was going to work. And that as Phillip and I had these deep conversations about where our lives were going and some of the other places we wanted to make impact, and Phillip and JC were running operational, we'll talk about their side of this, it just decided that we needed to merge and all the powers combined. And that leads to Move officially acquiring Hapday Group. And that means that we're going to scale to the next level. And so I'm going to pass the ball over to Phillip. As you were partnering with us and take that, you had that conversation with Phil and you kind of talking through these things. Kind of tell me how you saw this experience from your vision of like, you met these guys from the US, they're doing something very similar. We're going to team up and learn with them. Talk about just like what drew you to that and what made you think that like we should figure this out. Like in a pandemic, as you're like just leaving and starting a new business, you see us scaling. What was that like for you? Talk about your mindset going into that partnership back in the early days.
Yeah, I first of all, I want to give a shout out to Thursday Night Sales. Actually, I met Francois. It's the magic of internet and magic of LinkedIn and the whole pandemic thing. I started like to be very active, and I went to this call. I had no expectations. Thursday Night Sales, Scott Leaf and Amy Vola. So big kudos for them. It's an amazing community, and it was just starting at the beginning of the pandemic. I met Francois. We had, sometimes the magic happens, and you have, you do a one-on-one with someone and you stay for 2 hours talking about stuff. And this kind of happened with Francois. And I told him, hey, I have this idea. I have my future business partner, because at that point I think we were just, the idea was in our head that we want to start move. And I'm this kind of guy. I talk to everybody. I don't hide my plans. So I was started talking to everybody. Hey, I want to do this. This is how I want to do it. And I told Francois, and he's like, yeah, I know this guy in New York. He has the same name as you. I think you should meet him. He also like lived in different countries. Like you, he's like, you're so similar. And I said, yeah, why don't you make an intro? And Francois didn't really know me much. Like it was like after 2 hours. Yeah, and then he introduced me to Phil, and we had this first call. I remember the first call was, I think we both were a bit shy, and maybe like Phil was trying to figure out like, who's this guy, where he's coming from, can I trust him? I remember it was a good call. It was a good chemistry. Yeah, and then we kind of exchanged ideas, and it clicked, I think. And we both wanted to follow up. We were still like figuring out, okay, where it's going. And I remember we were starting to get our first client with JC. It was kind of, I don't want to say we didn't know what we were doing, but where we are right now, I never expected we would be, in such a short time. Like actually yesterday I was telling JC that we had the weekly team kickoff, and like all this head popped up in the Zoom call, and there were like 15 people from our team, and 2 people were still missing. I was like, wow, when did it happen that we're like 17 people, and
overnight
now you guys are joining, so like very soon it will be like 20 people, and like when did this happen? Yeah, so when I met Phil, I had no idea when it was going. I had an idea in my head that we want to help businesses grow, and there's amazing potential for this kind of services, and there's a lot of people that need help with sales, because the biggest surprise for me is that there's so many people that, for us, many things seem obvious, but they don't know even where to start, especially entering a market like the US, which is the biggest market. Everybody dreams to sell in the US, and it's a different animal. It's a different thing than selling in Europe or selling in the Middle East or in any other country, right? Yeah, so that's kind of the story.
Yeah, it's amazing to that we not to plug my book, but I'm going to plug my book, right? I talk about the social soul. We talk about the power of engagement, and a lot of the lessons I've learned in creating a network were just continue to be built in lessons learned from Phil. And when I started working with Phil, and we had no choice but to network and connect and build a business from the ground up. And, that mentality going into the pandemic, I think, is what led, Hapday to be so, we had, and I've talked about this publicly, and Phil as well, like we had a couple months where we had $0 coming in, and we had the team that we had to pay out, and we were kind of like, what the hell do we do? Hence the boot camp popped up, got revenue generating, and then scaled the business in a year that we could have just written off and said, this is the death of us. We turned it into, a productive year, meeting you guys. And by the end of that year, putting this all together. But it's that mentality, and it's that openness, having lived globally and meeting so many people, that allowed us to do what we did. It's that reciprocation from you and having Francois and having this amazing community that did that. And so I'm so thankful for that and really driving that forward. And that's something that, I love talking about, because it's changed, my life and Phil's life as well. And so I think that's just a cool story. And JC, you and I were kind of the outsiders, right? Like the Taquino, I said it wrong. Taquino is Turkey in Italian. Tacayo. I'm saying it Turkey in Italian. The Tacayo brothers meet each other.
The Turkey brothers.
The Turkey brothers. So Tacayo brothers meet each other. They have this idea. They start talking. And what was it like when, I remember what it was like when Phil came to me. It was like, I met Phillip and these guys out of Mexico and this amazing thing. What was it like when Phillip came to you and is like, hey, I met this guy from New York? What was that like for you? And what did you think, and how, you had just come off, switching, and you were about to jump in this venture together as your first startup, you guys are taking this on yourself, and you're like, oh shit, we're doing this? Like, what was that like for you and the experience, and how did you kind of step into it and feel about it when we started?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. I think, to be able to answer that, you gotta, I guess I gotta share a little bit of how we got to that point of Philip being super active and believing in himself. And I think what we're doing now is years in the making, especially in our heads, right? Because we always thought that we could build something, right? But we always ended up working for other people, and it was great work, right? We helped the companies that we worked at to accomplish their goals. But for the longest time, I think Philip and I knew we were good, but didn't really believe in ourselves, and didn't really believe that we could be the ones doing, and we could be the ones uh, building a team and building a culture. So I think it just it was, Philip talks about like magic and kind of the right time, and sometime during 2020 things just started to click and to you know fall together. I think it was less than a year I'd been laid out because of COVID. I was working at the Brazilian sort of startup similar to Airbnb but for dogs. So I was having the time of my life, like growing the team in LATAM, and all of a sudden I was out of a job, and I was like, oh shit, it's like the pandemic, and like what the heck am I gonna do now? Like, and your morale just goes down. You know how you've been through that, I guess, at some point in your lives. And then Philip pulled me into this gig he was doing, similar to what we're doing now. And from then things started to kind of unfold. And it was just like, I was like, dude, yeah, we can do this. Like, what the heck? We should do this. So we started, with nothing really, similar to you guys. It was just being active, I guess, and believing that people would trust each other like you guys trusted us, and likewise. And it all started from there. I think it's been kind of a story of believing that you can actually do this that you think of, and if you are willing to to do that extra effort that's needed, you'll be able to do it. I mean, we're not like the smartest guys on the planet. We're just like relentless and consistent, and I guess very social. Like, Philip's similar to you. Is you know
Always on LinkedIn, posting great content, talking, chatting.
Well, I'll just say, I mean, I do want to kind of give props to you guys, because where we're at today is really a testament of y'all's ability to continue forward and adapt. I mean, I remember it's funny when Philip was saying the thing about like meeting and having it be a little bit like kind of maybe awkward or shy. I was like, I think that when we first spoke, I think I was still trying to decide if like you were going to become competition, if we were going to do something together, or if it was just going to become like another like good conversation that where nothing comes of it. Because there's so many times that I've had great chats, what great synergy, good connection, and then nothing. And I mean, countless times. And the thing is that with that whole social engagement factor, you do it anyway, because you know that it only takes one to stick, right? Like it only had to be just you in order for something like this to happen, which is amazing. But this past year has been an awesome experience working with you guys. I mean, this partnership has been so strong. You all have really stepped up to the plate, and we've thrown a lot at you guys. I mean, you guys really, in that early time, you guys spun things up so quickly, and then you continue to improve. And I think that was the biggest thing. I remember, this past year having chats with Rob and saying, man, like like it went from being like, okay, I got to kind of coach and kind of talk through some things with these guys, to they're totally on top of everything. Their branding is starting to look better than our branding, like all of that. And that was really impressive to start seeing you guys exceed what we had been able to accomplish with the work and the team that you're building. I mean, even just thinking about the fact that you guys have 15 people, we got our company up to about 10. And I remember that same feeling of getting on a call and being like, holy shit, there's so many people on this call right now. And even then, now you've got this team that your team has been able to grow even faster than ours, and been able to succeed, through the collaboration of us, of course. And I'm just excited to see where things go, because that's really what this was, is me saying, hey, Rob, like they're doing great. Like they're doing great. And I think that they can do, even better if we're able to provide to them the additional value and assets of Hapday Group that we kind of hadn't really been activating because Rob and I were working on all these different projects of our own.
Yeah, I mean, that was, really taking that one step further because in 2020 we all met and it was like, okay, let's do a partnership, let's do some splits, like help get you and kind of help coach. And then in 2021, Phil and I made this conscious decision to say, hey, we're going to drive Hapday Group forward, but Hapday Group is going to be really taken over by Move in terms of like the day to day, allowing us to work on other projects. Hence, for those listening to this podcast, my business Rise Up and Bear Nation. Like I spent all of 2021 really building that side of my brand up, still running Hapday Group. And as we saw that, we brought in 7, 8 clients. One of them that was a huge client that did a $60 million Series D. A couple others. One of the clients that we actually used to work at Hapday Group before just announced a $90 million Series B. And so we've seen all these things that we're helping, and as we continue to do this and just watch in 2021, watch how fast Move grew. I remember Phil coming to me like, Rob, what if we start thinking about selling the business and giving everything to Move and giving them the support because they're outpacing us and they can do what we haven't been able to or are not wanting to do as we look at the next chapter of our lives. And I know Phil and I are going to do a separate podcast talking about that here in a month or so. But, that moment for us was really kind of special. And I think, it sucks because JC, you weren't able to make it. But, Philip, you were able to come up to New York to visit one of the clients and meet with us. And we had that great night out. Phil came in from North Carolina and we were all in New York. We went out for drinks. And I remember just sitting down that table and there's that, like, we talk about magic. But this is where we really were getting into the early conversations of, hey, this is going to happen. And there is that just like tingling in the air that this was something special. And I just remember, Phil, you looking at me and saying, this is the way to go. And we were so nervous to kind of bring it up to you guys like, hey, Phillip and JC, like, would you want to potentially acquire us, merge the two brands together and take this to the next level? Right? Because Hapday Move is a great partnership, but it's two brands and all these things. What if we powers combine, put it together? And that conversation started, summer of 2021. And here we are today with the official announcement looming of, by the time this comes out, we've just made the official announcement that this acquisition is taking place and, Move is going to be taking it to the next level. And so 20 people coming into 2022, Phil and I will be coming on as board members to help drive growth, scalability, process. Like, this are exciting things. And the story leading up to it's just one of just pure magic through simple networking and great conversation. And so I love that that's happening and it's been so much fun to see. And, Phillip, I'd love to ask you this question because this is what I think is like super exciting because behind the scenes, people don't see is that there's so much synergy in our business models and not just the business models as the sales as a service, but the why behind it. So Phillip, I'm going to ask Phillip and JC to share this, and I'm going to have Phil and I kind of share what we see in you. Phillip and JC, what did you see in Hapday Group and what we had built that made you say, yeah, this is something that we want to take on. We want to merge it to buy it. What was it that like you saw in this partnership that said, I want to do all this?
You want to go, Phillip? We cannot hear you.
Why don't you go first, JC, and then Phillip can go second?
Yeah. To me, it was something very simple. Like, I just, really enjoy working with you guys. That to me was kind of the main thing and the main decision maker. Obviously, you have a great brand behind you, and the work that you've done, it's very similar in terms of what we wanted to continue to do and continue to accomplish. But at the end of the day, I think businesses are just people, and being able to connect with you guys, at that sort of more like personal level, yeah, we do take care of work, and we do great work, but end of the day, it's like, us in a room chatting and just being here, and kind of discussing what's on our mind, and that to me is the most important thing, because you can have the greatest product, the greatest company, but if you don't align with that other human being across the room, it's just not going to work out. So to me, it's just about that connection that we've been able to grow over time, and like Philip was saying, it's being able to evolve and adapt, and also uh, you know having that kind of peace of mind that you guys were always going to be there to support us as we were kind of becoming what we are now. And I'm saying that we're the experts, but we've definitely grown, and a lot has been because of your trust and your support, to kind of see us grow along the way. So yeah, it was just, yeah, it's been the people connection.
I love that. Philip, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, I think I really agree with JC, and we even ask ourselves always, like, even when we interview people, like the first question is like, am I gonna enjoy working with that person, right? And I think with you guys, I don't know, it just worked. With, sometimes with JC, we say we understand each other without words. It's just sometimes we sit down and just things happen. The work gets done, and I think it was very similar with you guys. And I think this living abroad and living in different countries, it really helps us to understand each other, and we have kind of the same mindset. I think also, it's both businesses are bootstrapped, and we don't have any external pressures from investors or from anywhere else. And I think we kind of went step by step, and it kept growing and kept growing, but we just did it because we wanted to, and we didn't have to do it. And I think it was like a really very healthy way. And I remember, I think Europe, sometime at the beginning, he was like, we have a few more clients to throw at you, and we were like, wait, it's too much. We cannot keep up, training people and hiring people, and we had to figure out like all these internal processes, and it's really cool, and I really enjoy it because I used to work in VC backed startups, and I made a conscious decision that for the moment I don't want to work in a VC backed company again, because it's just too much stress, especially in the sales role. Like you're in the hot spot and on the hot seat, and you have to deliver. And there's every quarter you start at zero, and again and again and again. And I was kind of burnt out also, and I was like, I want to do it on my pace, build my own culture. Yeah, and it's an amazing experience. Then I like also the mix of all our characters. I think you're an amazing, sales guy, and with your public speaking skills, like it's great. And Phil adds this like very operational, very analytical mind. So it's like a good mix. And same happens with JC and me. Like JC, is like always making sure the taxes are being paid. Like I would be already bankrupt, like if I was doing this a lot, because I always forget about this thing, like expenses, and
Same.
I just go talk to people and I say, I have another deal. It's like, wait. We have to organize the processes. We have to organize you learn so many things every day. But I love doing it our own pace, and enjoying working with you guys. So
yeah. I love that. And I've worked for startups before and coached startups, and there's a lot of lessons that I learned. But teaming up with Phil and being able to work and build something from the ground up, I felt the same way. Like if it was just me, I would have probably ran it into the ground. Like he kept my shit together, and was like, remind me, hey, we got to get this done. Hey, don't forget this. Hey, and a lot of times he would just do it. Like I wouldn't even know it. And like I was like, oh, hey, we forgot about this. He's like, no, it's already done. I took care of it. You need to go do this other thing. Like keep doing that. I'll take care. It's like, what? It's like just instinctive, right? And I think kind of with future ventures and what I've been building with Rise Up, a lot of the stuff that I am taking on is direct result of the things I learned building Hapday Group and things I learned from Phil, kind of picking up that slack. And I think, what I really loved is that it was kind of a 2-and-2 thing, right? The four of us, there was just this great synergy, and watching the two of you work and kind of seeing you continue to build the vision that Phil and I had for the business when we first started was what kind of really attracted me and kept me going, because the idea of let's move, right? Let's keep things popping. And Phil and I always use make it happen. Let's make it happen today, right? Like it's this idea of like, no matter what, we keep putting one foot in front of the other, because sales is tough. Launching into new markets is fucking hard. And we're here to help accelerate that. We're here to help you find product market fit. We're here to help you scale your top of funnel. We're here to help drive leads. We're here to help you make sure that these are the right things. We're here to build a process. Sometimes the best value we could do is do a 3-month engagement where you build a process for a company and leave and they take it over. And they just did in 3 months. We did in 3 months, but it would take them 9 months to build out. And to walk away and watch some of these companies, as I texted Phil when we saw one of the companies we worked with, we had a fun little short engagement to test some new things. And it was just a test. It was like a 1-month test. And a lot of lessons they learned from that. They talked about how much they learned and how expanding it was. And now they're doing a Series B for $90 million. And yeah, we had a fairly small part, but it's just like, it's nice to know that we had a hand in helping them test something, and they learned some big lessons to go scale. And that was something that I saw out of you all. It's just like this mentality of let's move forward and always keep going. Phil, what about you? What was it that, you were the one that kind of drove this, and you were the one that had to really kind of convince me to like drive this thing forward. And we had a lot of long conversations about what to do with the business. So what did you see in Phillip and JC and in Move that just like was that clicking point for you?
Yeah, well, first off, I'll just say that Hapday Group could not have gotten to the place that it was when we were connecting with Move without you, Rob. I mean, it really was about the two of us together in building that out. I mean, there wouldn't have been any revenue to go bankrupt on if it hadn't come on board. So, and so that and that's where the real the real kind of connection to why I felt like I could trust Move Partners is seeing you and you, Phillip, and JC work together and realizing, like, I remember when I first met Phillip, I was like, okay, I think that like Phillip could probably build something. He obviously doesn't have it all, right? Like there's something, right? And then I met JC and I was like, that's the stuff that he doesn't have. It's in JC. So I was really excited that you guys were like really good friends. We're going to go into business together, because I couldn't help but be like, it kind of feels like Rob and I, like that even just the different qualities you two possess. The other thing that really, really drove me to feel like I could really trust you guys was two things. One was seeing some of the people that you brought on board. Not only were they exceptional people, so you were able to attract good talent, but they seemed to be really happy. Like in the interactions between you, JC, and some of the people you've had on calls, some of the other SDRs, like they seem to like you. They seem to enjoy. They don't seem to be like, oh my gosh, like so stressed, and I feel like some of the people on our team would get into calls and you could just see it on their faces, like the sense of overwhelm. And so, in that way, I was like, okay, like they've got a good team dynamic. That's awesome. That means that they're building a really good team internally. And then the last thing is around, an ethical thing, which was your guys' honesty. Even in prospect calls where, we'd be talking through what we potentially be doing for the client. You guys were so straightforward with your honesty around things. Like when you didn't feel like you could do something, you would tell them, even in like a sales call where like, I always tried to be very honest, because I knew that if I wasn't going to be honest with the client, eventually it's going to bite you in the ass, because they're going to expect you to do something that you can't. But also Rob and I both have like a pretty strong moral compass. We really believe in the, giving and taking. And we believe that what we put out into the world is going to be brought back to us. So, and I feel, I mean, I didn't have to ask this of you guys. I saw it. I saw the way that you conducted yourselves in those conversations, which was, I want to do right by these people. And if I don't think that I can do right by what they're requesting of, I will tell them. And, maybe we lost a deal or two because of that, but I would much rather it be that way. And so that really helped me go, okay, we can, I feel like I can represent these guys well because I believe in who they are as people and in what they're able to accomplish.
Yeah, I love that. And I saw that too, at the point of when things are tough and clients are on the line, you know, being okay with turning down a client or being honest about what you can and cannot do. And, maybe a client going with another solution, knowing that, or even passing to another solution, knowing that we did right by that client and that we weren't going to bring them on under false pretenses only to get the sale, only to have them leave us in 3 to 6 months. Because this is a tough business. It's sales as a service, right? And so depending on what that client is looking for and how they want to build that out, that honesty needs to be there on here's what we can accomplish, here's what we're going to do for you, here's what you can expect out of it, and here's what we can't do. And if you want this thing that we're not going to be able to do it. Don't want to set you up for failure. We're not going to just take your money to set you up for failure. And that to me is such an important part in this industry and this business. And so I agree 120%. And that was, that's something that's so amazing. It's just when we look at the business, both businesses, and just see how much and how far it's come in the partnership over the last 18 months or so, I think this is just natural, right? Move is continuing to scale, continuing to grow, and based out of Guadalajara, Mexico, allows you a very strategic positioning into the U.S. market, into Latin America and South America, but also into Europe with Phillip having being Polish and having those connections and helping not only companies into the U.S. market but also companies enter into new markets globally, and then to acquire Hapday Group, New York based, working in the U.S., helping companies come in. It just strengthens that North American hold, but also allows for that full service of, hey, we can help enter the US market. We can also help enter Latin America market, and having the team and people to scale. And I think that's what's so amazing is now you're going to have 2 global headquarters, one in Guadalajara, Mexico, one in New York City and Manhattan. And that's just such a cool feeling that's like, you're doing this thing and you're adding, your stamp to that. I know, Phil and I are super proud and excited to kind of, take down the Hapday Group, and don the Move branding and the Move lifestyle. And, what people can expect moving forward is an infusion of the two, right? Move is going to continue to grow and build and infuse. Phil and I are staying on as board members. We're going to be very heavily involved in strategic building and running some amazing boot camps. And, I just can't wait. I'm excited to see where this is going to go. And I know that there's a lot of, lessons still to be learned. There's going to be a lot of things that we're going to go through, but with the team that we have and, the 4 of us and the kind of relationship we've built, and the fact that we still haven't even met JC in person, right? We built this relationship virtually, and to trust each other this much to for you guys to buy a business, right? And acquire a business, and they're going through that process. And then for Phil and I to say, hey, we spent 3 years building this. Here's like 3 years of what we built. And what people don't know is in the last year, having in 2021 with that partnership with Move, we were able to increase revenue by double. And that's fucking amazing, right? Every year we've been able to increase year over year, but to really double revenue last year through all of that, through all these changes, through a lot of these different moving parts is such an amazing thing. And that's just from the Hapday Group side. And that doesn't include the Move growth. It's just, I can't wait to see what happens. And I think it's just a natural progression and such an amazing thing that's coming. So as we close this out, I want to let you all kind of give a lasting thought of what you're excited for 2022 and this integration and what the world can expect from you and your impact that you want to make as the Move Ventures team, Move Partners moving forward is one big happy family. And I'll start with you, JC.
Yeah. Well, I think there's just so many possibilities now that are going to be laid on the table. And I'm just excited about that we're going to be able to bring so much more value to our current and future customers on the one side. And then on the other side, I think we've always had this dream Phillip and myself, and I guess you guys as well, to really work with the community, and that's one of the things that I'm most excited about, which is enabling anyone really that might want to come into tech, specifically in sales, and allowing them to, through a short boot camp, to have the sufficient information and knowledge to come in and do a great job as an SDR. So that's something that we'll be announcing sometime during the first half of the year. But it's not just about how much money you can make. It's also about how can you enable more people to become better versions of themselves. In this case, through tech and sales, because that for me, that was something that changed my life. Like, just landing in this intersection allowed me to do so many amazing things that I couldn't have thought of doing if I wasn't in this position. So yeah, that those two things to me are what excites me the most, and obviously having your brains and energy and experience is definitely going to help us to achieve that. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I love that. The fact that the biggest impact is giving people an opportunity to get into tech sales, and especially not only just locally in Mexico, which definitely helping the community that you have in Mexico and the entrepreneurship ecosystem you're building there, but globally. And I know you've got some interns coming in from France, and I think Spain was the other one that you have coming. You got some people coming in from people are coming from around the globe to want to be with you all and work and learn from you. I think that's amazing. So I can't wait for that announcement later this year, JC, and really proud of all the stuff you've done. Phil, what about you?
Yeah, I'm really excited to just get started on kind of the work that we have planned. Not just the new kind of relationship opportunities with just returning to some of our awesome partners and telling them this amazing story, and and getting them excited about what else we can potentially do with them, but also about all the new stuff. The opportunity to expand the boot camps, the opportunity to bring on maybe some new product offerings. I know you guys have been thinking a lot about kind of what you can do to really activate this value. It feels like the perfect ending, to have Hapday Group be kind of brought into the fold of Move, to then really bear witness to what, Rob, you and I knew that this is something that we could do. It just wasn't in the way that it was supposed to happen. And now here we are seeing it through to say, we're not going to just end it. We're going to see it through to a new beginning. And so I'm excited to kind of stand at the end of this year and just like have little like proud parent tears streaming down as I look out at like this new creation, and all the amazing things that we're going to do together this year.
Yeah, I love that, and it's exciting. It's just so exciting. It's not always what we envisioned, but it couldn't be a more perfect ending to the work we've done and built, and to not let it go, and grow up in a way that will exceed expectations even than I ever thought possible. So, Phillip, what about you, my guy?
Yeah, there are a few things. First of all, I come from a small town in Poland, and I like to remember where I come from, and now kind of say having a company in New York, in Manhattan, going to the US to open a bank account for the company and doing all these kind of things it's like a dream come true. I remember I had this fever for living in the US, and when you work in technology, you always want to say, I want to either work in Silicon Valley or in New York. And now it's happening. So on the personal level, it's something like I could have never imagined. I'm excited about putting four of our heads together. I think we've been doing a lot of work together, but I think right now we'll be even more, spending more time. And I think when there's four smart people in the room, we can come up with, we can do at the end whatever we want. and come up with great ideas and make a great impact. I'm excited for our people, for our teams, because it's a great opportunity for everybody. And I've seen how sometimes we hire recent graduates and seeing how they learn and they are sponges, and how they become like, world-class professionals in sales. It's amazing. So yeah, there's a lot of things, and impacting our clients. When our clients raise more money and are having successful meetings and closing deals that we source, this is a great feeling. And I think we all, especially JC and myself, we have this. We're in triathlon, especially JC. We have this perseverance, like we really never give up. Like we have to make it work, right? And this is kind of our way of thinking. Like we'll figure it out. Like sometimes it's tough, sometimes it takes time to figure things out, but we never stop, and we always keep moving until we figure things out. And so exciting things coming. I think the world is now even a smaller place, with all the remote work, and we can do business anywhere. So that's the most exciting thing, and that there's we can work with every country in the world, and I think we can make a great impact. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Thanks a lot, guys, for the trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that actually are going to watch the video, let me see those move knuckles real quick. Like when I talk about it, like I love it. And for me, what I'm most excited about is that there's going to be an impact that Phil and I have always talked about, and how we wanted to leave a legacy. And we have many more years to continue to build that legacy. But to know that Hapday meant a lot to a lot of people, and we were able to have some amazing clients and foster amazing relationships, and that to be acquired by such an amazing group of people, and then for us to be brought into the fold so that we can continue to do that work, we can continue to make that impact and help companies do some amazing things as it relates to sales. And I can't wait for some of the bootcamp plans that we have coming out, some of the programs that we have that we want to build, and getting to work on some of that. So for me, it's really about impact and seeing this come full circle, and for this to happen, and the two companies to combine. It's going to continue to bring me joy in the fact that we can continue to impact people's lives and giving them new skills, from being a part of the team to clients and helping build out processes, to us and our own journeys of starting companies. The belief, all four of us wanted to do it, and at one point had self-doubt and overcame that to where we are today, and going through this process. I just can't wait to see the further impact that we'll be able to make with a stronger team. And I know we're building a bit of an advisory board to bring in some amazing minds and brains to help move things forward. And it's really exciting, and I can't be more proud of saying that I'm part of the Move team now. It's not just a partnership, it's, hey, I work for Move as a board member, as an advocate, as going to be spreading the news and shouting it from everywhere. I can't be more proud. So thank you, Phil, for having this crazy idea to work with me all those years ago. And I tell this story, and Phil doesn't remember it quite this way, but when I met Phil, he was kind of like, hey, I want to find a way to work with you, meaning bring you in and as a program mentor. And I took it as yeah, I want to find a way to work with this guy sometime, literally work with him, not just come in as a program mentor. So we said it, and his was Rob coming in to do a program, maybe do a speech or something. And I'm yeah, someday I'm going to work with this guy, and to start a company with him, and then to have this, exit into now the four of us and a full team is it's exciting. I can be more proud of it. And it's been a little bit emotional thinking about what all is on the table and what experiences we're going to have moving forward. So thank you, Philip and JC, for putting faith and trust in us, and looking at us as something that in the business, and us as people, that was worth acquiring and helping scale things to the next level. So I'm just appreciative, and thank you for sharing so much of your time and energy today, and sharing the story. And there's a lot left to be still told, and we'll have some more move content in the podcast later. We're going to be putting a lot of content out on LinkedIn and all the socials, so be checking out. There's a new website coming. I will make sure to have Phillip, JC, and Phil's LinkedIn linked in the show notes so you can connect with them. And as they talked about, we love spontaneous interaction and reach out. So if you have a question, you want to connect, I highly, highly suggest you reach out to them and just say, hey, heard you on the pod. Would love to pick your brain or love to talk about this, because they're all going to take the time. They're never too busy to have a conversation with anybody. And that's where the magic of this happened. And so we'll have that. We'll have the new website coming soon. So we'll continue to update all the show notes. So keep an eye out, follow us on all the platforms, and be prepared for some amazing things to happen out of the Move team. And, this is kind of official. Move acquires Hapday Group, signed, sealed, delivered, and it's time to start building the next big thing with the company. So I appreciate you all for being here, sharing, and let me be a part of this damn thing.
Now you got to get tapped up, Rob.
now I'm getting the tattoos.
We'll have to think about that. I think I do need to get some sort of Hapday memento and the Rise Up logo, and maybe I could do the Move logo and have all the kind of the companies
product placement on Rob's bicep.
Exactly, right here. Just we'll put it there. So thank you, fellas. I'm excited for what's next, and I just appreciate you all being here and sharing. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's great as usual.
Awesome. Well, Bear Nation, until the next episode, stay well. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bear Nation, once again, thank you for tuning in and listening to the Bear Necessities podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. It really does help and means a lot to us at the show. And I want to thank our friends over at Fin. Fin is a social good platform that creates employee engagement and builds culture. It's our mission to support and give back to the communities that we serve around the world. And we do this by giving every guest on our show a $10 donation to the cause of their choosing using the Fin platform. Until next time, thank y'all, stay well, and rise up.